Helium community members have now voted to move the decentralized Wi-Fi network from its blockchain to the Solana blockchain. And so joining us now to discuss this is Amir Haleem, Chairman, CEO, and founder of Helium. So Amir, this is a very interesting development. There's been a lot of Helium news. This is obviously a big story. Tell us a little bit about why Solana specifically. Obviously, there's a lot of blockchains to choose from. What was it that made the community, in your opinion, move to the Solana blockchain?
Yeah, I think as everyone knows, Helium was one of the few sort of sovereign L1s, as they call them. Like when we started building this back in 2017, there weren't many options. You kind of had Ethereum, where you had to do something yourself. So Helium has seen extraordinary growth. You know, the community has gone from 100 nodes to around 1 million nodes on the network. So there are now 1 million hotspots providing wireless coverage across the globe. And that's caused us to, want to rethink a little bit around the architecture and how this works. And Solana, for me, is by far the best choice in terms of L1 blockchains to land. And there's lots of reasons for that: transaction cost, speed of the network, compatibility with existing Helium wallets, like a large DeFi ecosystem, a large developer ecosystem, things like that. Those are the criteria that we looked at.
Solana has had some technical difficulties, though, very well publicized. Is that a concern at all?
The way we've architected the design in HIP 70 kind of depends a little less on whether the L1 is available. We looked at Ethereum as an example, right, where even if Ethereum had perfect uptime, there would be periods of time where the cost to use the network would be so high that we would have to kind of wait to submit transactions to the network. So HIP 70 contemplates this kind of broken apart design, right, where everything is separated, and the goal there is to try and create maximum performance and maximum reliability, and part of that is accounting for the network potentially being unavailable sometimes. Although we're very confident, looking at what the Solana team has done over the past several months, that they'll have few issues going forward.
I also saw that you hosted a Helium House event in New York with Solana founder Anatoly Yakovenko on the stage. So I wonder, how long has this move been in the works?
We've known the Solana team for a very long time. Anatoly, the CEO of Solana Labs, and our CTO actually worked together at Qualcomm for about a decade. We actually tried to hire Anatoly at Helium before he founded Solana. Like, he came in to interview, but thought he had a better idea. So that the move has been sort of discussed and contemplated over the years. We just didn't think it was reasonable at the time. Like, Solana was still during its launch. After we launched, so we've always had the discussion. We've been happy with the way our blockchain has performed, but at some point you realize there are better options, and there are people that just dedicate their entire life to solving the problem of building the best L1, and Anatoly is one of those people.
Just want to point our viewers' attention to the vote results we see here. There were over 7,400 votes. 81% of community members voted in favor of the move by staking over 12 million HNT, and just over 19% voted against it. But I also want to bring up last week, Algorand founder Sylvia McCauley and Chief Technology Officer John Allen Wood were tweeting about their interest in bringing Helium to Algorand. In fact, we have a tweet from Sylvia McCauley saying that Helium community, Helium Foundation, and yourself, Amir Haleem, Algorand is ready to support Helium with our secure, scalable, and truly decentralized blockchain and help you with the migration. So I don't know, is there any chance you would reconsider?
At this point, no. I mean, the votes are already passed. One of the things that I think everyone should be aware of here is that the desire to at least look at other L1 blockchains was telegraphed months and months ago in a previous HIP, which was called HIP 51. So there was a lot of time here for anyone that was actually serious about talking to us. But we did spend a lot of time looking at all the different L1 options. And one of the key things that was super important to us was that the migration would be seamless for our users. And that meant you needed private key compatibility, among a bunch of other things. And Solana was one of very few blockchains that enabled that. So, Helium users will experience nothing really. Like, one day they'll wake up and all of a sudden their tokens will be on Solana instead of on the Helium blockchain. And that's, that was a very, very important point for us.
So Amir, congratulations on the merger, if you will. But of course, a few months ago, you had some supply chain issues with the hotspots, and I believe there was a lawsuit against you guys regarding some of the customer service aspects of getting these hotspots out and people wanting refunds and not getting those refunds. Where is that right now? How has that progressed? And has anything been resolved? Have you settled? What's going on with that case?
Yes, there's no lawsuit against us there. There are actually about 70 different third-party hotspot manufacturers on the network. We were the initial hotspot manufacturer just because everyone thought we were crazy and no one was interested in building a hotspot back then. But there are now 60 or 70 different vendors. I'm not super familiar with the case that you were talking about, but I think it's aimed at one vendor in particular. And I actually don't know where that sits.
And a couple of questions have popped up recently regarding, some deals where your customers of, let's say, T-Mobile, Lime, Salesforce, et cetera. And I guess they've been, with the press releases coming out and the like, they kind of position them as if they're partnerships, but they're really customer relationships. Are these press releases, are they vetted by these other parties? So in other words, when you put out a press release about dealing with Salesforce as a customer or dealing with T-Mobile as a customer, do they see those press releases as well? And are you, given the criticisms, are you guys, changing the way in which you are announcing your relationships with other companies?
Yeah, I mean, we're certainly aware of the criticism and doing things internally to make sure that everything we say is accurate and precise going forward, and that we're spending time with our partners who are extremely important with us. T-Mobile is a perfect example. We worked on the Helium Mobile announcement, which hopefully you and your viewers all saw recently, with T-Mobile for a really long time, including how the press release was to be drafted and how everything should be positioned. So we're aware of it. We've made a lot of changes internally just to be extraordinarily clear with our partners, even when we've had good verbal approvals and good verbal quotes. Sometimes that's just not good enough. So we're very, very diligent now about making sure everything we do is written down properly, that there's proper sign off for it. And T-Mobile was a good example of that. We actually had a few T-Mobile senior executives out at the Helium House event. And so that was a very, very long process. And we're super excited about Helium Mobile and working with T-Mobile going forward.
Well, there's a perception that perhaps these brand partnerships, as they were announced, were they were misleading. Is that a concern?
I understand the concern, I think is the way I would say it. We spend a lot of time with all of our customers and all of our partners, making sure that they're happy with both the network and the way that we're describing what was going on. I think in those particular cases, it was a little bit of a challenge because there was so much turnover with staff. And so relying on verbal approvals just wasn't good enough at that time. But going forward, we're feeling pretty good about that. And, we've got an incredible list of customers and partners. And if you look at helium.com/ecosystem, you can get a good sense of the customers using the network. And there's a few quotes there in terms of how happy they are with it.
I guess finally, Amir, if you want to go into, the Helium phone, the Solana phone, and what you see as the next steps with your merge with Solana.
Yeah, so I would just clarify, I wouldn't really call it a merge. We're moving some part of the Helium blockchain over to Solana, but still very much two separate entities doing two separate sets of things. Solana has their phone called Saga. We're very excited to see what we can do with it. We announced Helium Mobile earlier this week, and Helium Mobile is the world's first crypto carrier, as we're describing it. We're excited to see what we can do with Solana, with the Saga phone in particular. I think there's all kinds of crossover there that we can work on. It's possible, for example, that Saga phone users would be proof of coverage mappers on the Helium network. And, there's all kinds of fun things that we might be able to do together. So super excited about Helium Mobile, super excited about the next steps that everyone's taking.
Available in the US and where else?
For now, the US only. But we're working hard on making that not true. But we are unfortunately at the behest of regulators in other countries. Like the US is really the only country that I'm aware of that has an unlicensed spectrum that you can operate a cellular network in. So anywhere else that becomes possible, we're all about it. But for now, I think it is going to be US only. But apply pressure to regulators if you can.